Time now to welcome our investigative reporter, Clarrisa Hawes, joining us with a breaking story out of Apex Capital, which had a full systems outage yesterday. And Clarrisa, tell us a little bit about what's going on with that systems outage.
Sure. Well, I started hearing from trucking companies and some other industry people saying that Apex Capital, a very large factoring company that also has a fuel card that a lot of small business truckers use, wasn't working. Like the system was down. And so at that point, the terminology that they were using was very similar to, when I've covered other cyber attacks and ransomware attacks, where they didn't want to come out and say that they had been hit, they had been targeted. But so I kept pressing on Monday and Tuesday. And then at that point, they still weren't willing to say it to their, to cause panic among their customers. And then I started talking to some people, some interesting folks that on the dark web, and that confirmed it. And then I also talked to a cybersecurity threat analyst, and he also confirmed it as well. So right now they are still trying to get their systems up. They're still trying to find out where the malware, how it got into their system. I know they had a systems upgrade a few days prior to this happening. And so they're at this point, basically doing manual processes to fund their customers.
So, all right, Clarrisa, so many questions there. One, how do I get on this dark web? And what is your alter ego on the dark web? And do you wear a mask? But other than those questions, do we know anything more about this particular thing? Is it an attack, or did they accidentally absorb something? Is there any indication that it's some sort of ransomware or anything like that? A nefarious activity, obviously, but is it an accidental that they got nailed, or is there any indication that they were specifically targeted?
They were targeted from the sources that I've spoken to, and it's called Black Bite, and they've been around. The FBI and the Secret Service have been monitoring their activity for a while. They hacked the San Francisco 49ers, organization. And,
who has?
And I know. And then they kind of went, they found some kind of encryption ability. The people that were the threat analysts found an encryption key to kind of break, their attempts to get ransom money from these companies. But now they're back with new features, and it appears that they're partnering with some other groups that are well known in the, to hack very large organizations. So, and so now they've added new features where, you can buy another 24 hours before they say they'll release the data for $5,000, or that you can download it for $30,000. And so it's attempt that maybe even if like Apex Capital doesn't pay, that another competitor or another ransomware group could pay for that and then try to sell it as well. So they're getting more sophisticated.
So like a competitor can say, hey, I'll give you another 50 grand if you keep them locked down.
Yeah. Or intentionally get the data, or have access to, at this point, we're still not sure what information was stolen. That's something that they're being very closed about, is like what if there were customers, personal information, the company, list of their clients and, bank account information and things like that. And so it's unclear what these hackers do have. So, yeah, but I talked to a threat analyst, and he said yesterday that they kind of tout it to maybe rivals that want to get a hold of a client list, and this is a way that they could pay and possibly download all of their rivals, customer information. So it's interesting.
Clarrisa, for these companies that have that opportunity to kind of attack their rivals, are there legal ramifications if say one company is paying to receive this information, but they didn't necessarily initiate the hack? Are they on a hook for legal ramifications as well if it gets found out who bought information from who? Or since the cyber attack happened with Blackbyte as the perpetrator, they would be the ones to face the ramifications, and then the companies purchasing the data could just get off scot-free?
That's a real gray area right now, because the hackers aren't going to release their customer list, to, that maybe who has, is buying, purchasing the data. And I'm sure the rival companies don't want to admit that they paid for this information as well. So that's a gray area and a good question. And yeah, I should bring it up. I should ask, a couple of my sources, hey, has this happened? And it's definitely unethical. But, that's a good question.
Is it just frowned upon, or is it actually illegal? That's kind of that weird delineation in that gray area. So Clarrisa, going forward, do they have an expected time for resolution, or is it kind of just as soon as they can get back online, they're hoping to get back online?
I reached out to the company this morning, to get an update, and I did hear from some trucking companies as well that are still struggling. Some have had to park their trucks, until they get some type of resolution. If they had with the discount fuel cards that this TCS, their subsidiary, had, if you had money on those cards, because it's like a prepaid type system, you could fuel, but you can't actually check your balance to find out how much you have left. So you could fuel as many trucks as you can and send them, but they may not be able to get back if there's no way to put money back on their fuel card. So that's kind of some of the trucking companies I've spoken to are facing that problem right now.
Very, very interesting. So, Clarrisa, this seems like it's the first we've heard in quite some time. Am I just not paying attention to these cyber attacks, or has it been on the decline, and or has it been just steady since we first started hearing of these?
Well, I talked to Brett Callow. He's a threat analyst yesterday about this, and he said that right now, it is down, like that. They haven't, been targeting transportation companies as much. And, a lot of it has to do with kind of the geopolitical climate and where a lot of some of these organizations are, they can be based wherever, but, with tension in other parts of the world, that, the focus hasn't been on the transportation industry, as much as it was. And some have gotten, transportation large, carriers have been hit, and it seems like some companies have become aware and are trying to strengthen their security measures to prevent these types of situations from occurring.
Right. All right, Clarrisa, well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for breaking the story for us yesterday. We'll talk to you again soon. Right now, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes.